I believe in a transformation journey that it takes both a conscious and a subconscious experience to really create a deep, permanent, lasting change and get to that root cause. For me, life coaching and education and books was a part of that cognitive learning process. To really get to the root cause and rewrite the stories, it takes a subconscious process as well. Some people do this through prayer and meditation. Another option is traditional therapy. I have done traditional therapy over the years, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. It's a little bit of a hit and miss process. There's a study that I found in hypnotherapy school that talked about the comparison between traditional therapy and hypnotherapy. And it said that those that went through 600 sessions of traditional therapy experienced a 23% improvement. And those that went through 6 sessions of one-on-one private hypnotherapy experienced 93% improvement. And the reason for this isn't necessarily that one is better than the other, but traditional therapy only talks to the cognitive mind, unless you're doing something like EMDR, which does get into the subconscious. From my personal experience, as well as a few other friends that I've talked to, EMDR creates an emotional exposure that it doesn't close back up. So just cautionary tale there, be careful with what you choose. In traditional therapy, I was able to find a therapist during my 3rd divorce that really was able to help me recognize all of the core beliefs that I had held on to since childhood, which I really didn't know were there. He was able to help resolve it a little bit, but it has been through hypnotherapy in the last couple of years, I have really been able to rewrite those stories. I found hypnotherapy because I wanted to find the fastest result in the shortest amount of time. I'm one of those people that just craves big results. And I believe that's why I was led to hypnotherapy, because like I just mentioned with that study, in 6 sessions, people experienced a 93% improvement. That is huge. And I have seen that in my own personal results as well as the results of my clients. The hypnotherapy experience, you're able to get down into the subconscious mind and really recognize what those root core beliefs are that are causing the pain. It's been through hypnotherapy that I've really been able to look deeply into those childhood experiences and rewrite those core beliefs. I like to say that it's never too late to have a good childhood. And that is really because of the work that I do as a hypnotherapist. So what are some beliefs that you have about hypnotherapy? Let's talk about what it is and what it isn't. Let's first go into what it isn't. Hypnotherapy is often believed in the public opinion to be a type of entertainment. And a lot of people have seen hypnotherapy or hypnosis on stage. So stage hypnosis is actually different than hypnotherapy. Stage hypnosis is created for the purpose of entertainment. And those that volunteer to go on stage, they really do know that they're going up there to perform and they're willing to perform. And the hypnotherapist on stage is able to recognize signs in the audience for those people that are very suggestible, that will follow their instructions. So just to clarify that those are 2 opposite things. Hypnotherapy is created for the purpose of you, in my definition, getting answers inside of yourself. It's a guided conversation that we're able to go into your subconscious to speak to parts of you, the parts that are having pain. Typically, a part of you is experiencing an emotion, and that emotion is wrapped around an experience. Hypnosis really is a normal process that happens. It's a theta state in our minds that we go through every day when we go from awake to sleep. It's just that in-betweener stage where we're kind of dreaming and imagining. What it feels like to be hypnotized is that you're having that dreamy state and you still have thoughts, you're still thinking, you're still imagining, but that cognitive critical part of your mind is quieted down so that you can really listen intently to what's happening in your imagination. I guess the best way to help you to see what hypnotherapy is to just tell you the stories of what my clients have experienced. So there's a couple amazing stories that I would love to share with you with what clients have experienced during a hypnotherapy session. And the purpose of why I share these stories is to help you to see where the subconscious mind is leading the client. I, as the hypnotherapist, ask guided questions, and the client's job is to trust and allow the thoughts and images that come to their mind and have that conversation by sharing what they're experiencing. One thing that's unique about me is that I don't use a script anymore. I do have 6 different types of sessions that we'll go through with each client to help them to look at one problem from different angles. And the pattern that I use helps me to be able to guide a client through that safe emotional processing experience without using a script. The first one I want to tell you about is a client that was experiencing imposter syndrome. Before the session, she felt like she had to be an expert and she had to perform according to the expectations of everyone else around her. And she also said that she was afraid of making mistakes and afraid of being embarrassed. And she was terrified of other people seeing who she really was because she didn't want them to see her flaws and her mistakes. It was so cool. Her imagination, she brought out that this part of her was dancing, and it had to keep dancing, or it was afraid and terrified of what would happen if it stopped. So we went into that conversation of, what are you afraid of? What will happen if you stop dancing? And that took her into a childhood experience of when her mom had disciplined her for something. This part of her that was continuing to dance and was afraid to stop dancing, we talked to that experience and found out what was happening in why they were afraid to stop dancing. And when they shared their disappointment of what the child had done, the child interpreted that as, they don't love me anymore. I'm a disappointment. So the conversation that she was able to have with her child self was so beautiful. I had her imagine that she was the rescuer going to talk to her child self, and she had conversations back and forth. And what she discovered was that her child was safe to make mistakes, and that she couldn't ever have done anything that would make her unlovable, and that she was always whole, and that making mistakes is safe because we get to learn from them. So this is the subconscious leading the client to the answers that they need. And it's a beautiful blend between the client showing up 100% and the hypnotherapist showing up 100% to actually create that connection, to find those answers inside of you. So does that help you to see how amazing hypnotherapy is and how your subconscious mind can guide you through the answers? I, as a hypnotherapist, get to ask questions and be a guide to help you to get the answers inside of you, but it is your desire inside of that experience that really is the magic. One other story I want to share with you about a client that had claustrophobia. The reason for that was that he was stuck in a cave when he was 12. From what I could gather in the experience, he might have actually been pinned down in the rocks. So the reason why this was causing a problem in his life was that he needed to be able to go into a hyperbaric chamber to work on some health issues that he was having. And the hyperbaric chamber was triggering him. He said when he reached out and he would touch the edge of the chamber, it would trigger him and feel like he was back in this cave. So during the exploratory part of the conversation, we really explored what emotions he was having, what images that was attached to, and what he wanted to feel instead. I love that during the session, we were able to create a safe place for him. And I guided him to use his imagination to connect back to the emotions of that safe place that we talked about. And for him, that it was a mountain stream where he was fishing on a river, and he hadn't allowed himself to do that since he was a boy. So we created that safe place for him in his imagination that he can go back to any time that he needed to relax, anytime he was feeling this panic, stress, and anxiety, especially when it was triggered by that hyperbaric chamber. So we found out exactly what it is that he needed. And then I invited him to go back into that experience of being back in the cave when he was 12. It was so cool because we went through step by step, and again, not having a script, you never know for sure what's going to happen, but it was so cool to see what came up for him. And the ideas that came to my mind is that he was able to, again, become the rescuer for his child self. And he talked to his child self to help him to get free inside of that cave, to wiggle and move and get out of that tight place where he was trapped. And then he was still inside of the cave, and I asked him if he felt safe, and he said at first no. And then we had him imagine using the power of his mind to think what he wants to think, which was the inspiration I had that morning before the session, that this would be his superpower that would allow him to transform this fear into what he wanted to feel, which was relaxation and peace. And so he was able to use this power to think what he wants to think inside of the cave, and to imagine the walls of the cave not as the cave but as the hyperbaric chamber. So we change the ideas of panic and fear and stress, and we change those words and those images into now a protective bubble, into the place that was holding him and protecting him and healing him and keeping him safe. So you see how we removed the negative emotion and the negative association with that cave and put it into that positive, the way that it was holding him, the way that it was benefiting him, shifting his focus from what he didn't want to what he did want. And that's the beauty of what we can do in a hypnotherapy session, to really help you to get into the emotions, the thoughts, and the images that are creating that experience for you, the attachments of what you fear, and then letting go of that fear and creating truly what you desire. My goal in everything that I do in hypnotherapy is to help you own your own mind. A lot of people think that hypnotherapy is a way that the hypnotherapist controls the mind of the other person. But that is absolutely not the case, especially when it comes to what I do, because everything I do is for you to become independent, for you to grow in your ability to own your own mind, so that you can allow your mind to become alive and create that life that you desire. So hopefully you can see how powerful hypnotherapy is and how it truly can help you rewrite the stories that you believe. It is the fastest thing that I have ever found to be able to get down to the root cause and really help you to understand what's happening in your mind, your heart, and your body. And that's the definition of Kokoro. That's why we named our company Kokoro Hypnotherapy, is because it means the combination of heart, body, mind, and soul. And it really is our desire to create wholeness for you, to be able to experience that flow of life and to live your purpose.